Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, don't turn your houses into graves, for the shaitan flees from the house in which Surah Al-Baqarah is recited. So let's ponder today, why specifically Surah Al-Baqarah? When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is comparing a house to a grave, he is saying that house is dead, and to give it life, you recite Surah Al-Baqarah. And we find 5 amazing stories in Surah Al-Baqarah where there was death, and then after death they were revived. So let's start with the first story where dead people were brought back to life. In ayah number 55 to 56, Banu Israel, they said, we want to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala plainly. So they were punished, they were killed by a thunderbolt, and after that they were brought back to life. Let's move on to the second story. That's a famous story, the story of the cow, Baqarah. In this story, a man was murdered, and Banu Israel had to slaughter a cow and then get a piece of flesh off that cow and strike the man. And then he came back to life, and he mentioned who his murderer was, and then after that he was caused to die again. The third story in ayah number 243, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions a group of people in thousands. They left their town and they went, and scholars say that in that town there was a plague, and that's where these people left. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused them all to die, and after their death Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought them all back to life. The fourth story, ayah number 259, scholars say this is a story of Prophet Uzayd. He passed by a town, and this town was completely dead. There was nothing there, destroyed. And he said, how will this town ever be revived again? So to show him how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revives after death, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made him die for 100 years. And then he brought him back to life. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked him, how long was you dead for? And he said, maybe a day or part of a day. And then he was told, no, you've been dead for 100 years. And after 100 years, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has brought you back to life. The fifth story, ayah number 260, when Ibrahim alayhi salam asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how do you give life to the dead? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, do you not believe me? And he said, of course I do. I just want to strengthen my iman. And then he was told to get 4 birds, tame them, and then slaughter them, and then place them in different mountains and call them. And how all of those dead pieces, they would all come together, and those dead birds came back to life. So these are the 5 stories in Surah Al-Baqarah, how after death there was revival. Revive your houses and recite Surah Al-Baqarah.